Joker 2 is a very interesting film, very controversial. I'll just straight up say it is a bad film. It's a bad written film, bad directed film. I don't know how to say it, but it's great cinematography and all that other stuff. The music is okay. I can hear some of the lyrics over the actual song, but I'll tell you um, what I'll say is this: the most interesting thing I caught from it, the psychology of it, the shadow aspect. That's more the things I'm getting into for Joshua Stakeout. The shadow aspect. So I'm uniquely equipped to say I'm an expert on the shadow aspect. So everyone has the shadow. They have a shadow. It's just sort of a unique thing, a balanced thing, basically for our psyche. How we kind of are balanced people. How we have this ability to make our own decisions and whatnot, free will. But it's more of a wounded child. It's developed during infancy. But your children, as a child, you have this development. And your development, with the natal stages and whatnot, there are these little tantrums that people throw as a child. That you have to kind of have these wants and these desires. And as you grow up, you kind of have to suppress that nature. We don't all throw tantrums when we turn into like 40-year-olds or whatever. But we have that innate in us, this shadow aspect. So this character Arthur Fleck, his alter ego Joker, was basically the reflection of himself as the shadow aspect. And so the movie was trying to say, at the end of the first film, he had removed his shadow aspect had been removed from his psyche, so he wasn't the Joker anymore. But everyone else kind of knew that he had it in him, but he didn't know because it was more of his shadow aspect. It was kind of, he had to put on a facade because he didn't know how to reach that shadow aspect, a part of his own psyche. But it was always a part of his nature, the shadow aspect. It was him, not even an alternate version, an alternate personality. No, it was his own shadow aspect. So that psychology was great. But I think what issue of the film was the fact that Arthur Fleck was the only character without a shadow throughout the entire film. So things were just happening to him the whole film. Only other character that was an anti-hero that I know without a shadow was probably Edward Norton's character. Opposite the Tyler Durden, who was played by Brad Pitt in Fight Club. And that dynamic was the dynamic they should have done, I believe. They could have worked it in like it was multiple personality, but again, the thing is, the shadow, it's not sublimated, it's not divided from our psyches for most people. So if it is divided, it would maybe turn into a multiple personality thing, but maybe a darker half. That was more Two-Face in the animated cartoons. But for the Joker, it's more of his main personality, his dormant personality, is maybe him being a victim or him being any lesser version that Arthur Fleck got. So, the director himself didn't really say that Arthur was a Joker. So it was that little confusion. I think he forgot the premise of what he was doing for the first movie. So the shadow aspect, again, is just important for psychology. So what I put forth for the shadow aspect is it is existing as its own dormant personality in Joshua Lark. So the shadow is a big aspect of what Joshua Stakeout is, because it's a part of what Joshua Lark is. His own psyche is the nature of himself. Grounded basically from childhood, but rooted in the traumas, rooted in the things that are suppressed. That's what the shadow aspect is about. So that's what really all of it means if you're talking about the debate with multiple personality. Joker himself doesn't really have multiple personality, but he's without his shadow in the second film, which makes for harsh storytelling, and things just happen to him. And again, the same thing with Edward Norton in Fight Club, but the difference is there's no alternate, there's really no Joker to say, like, there's no opposite to say, there's no polar. It's just without the shadow. And so every other character is kind of moving the story along, but Arthur's kind of playing, quote unquote victim to that. So it's one of the most interesting things, but it's a terrible watch. I won't even lie. But the music is hit. It wasn't too bad. And there's always these daydreams, and it's okay. I wouldn't recommend it because it could have been better. They put $200 million on the project. They could have made it more boom. There was only one boom moment. They could have made it boom, 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 because it's the Joker. You know, it's great storytelling. It's fun. But I think David Fincher or like Martin Scorsese, the actual Martin Scorsese, should have directed the film. The first film was like Taxi Driver. The second film should have been like Fight Club.